Hey guys, welcome to Transformation Tuesday again. Hope you guys are having a beautiful week. I'm just going to wait for a few of you to jump on tonight. And while I wait for you guys to jump on, I am going to share what is tonight's topic. Tonight's topic is how do we live a life beyond extraordinary? How do we go to the next level of possibilities, of creativity, of magnificence for our life? And I'm going to be sharing with you the five major pillars for how to activate a life beyond extraordinary. I'm going to be giving you some major nuggets, some massive insights, and some practical tools on how to do that. And I'm going to give you my top 5 ways on, well, how do we stretch our sense of infiniteness? How do we access that life force? How do we access that extraordinary possibility inside us? Now, my whole mission in my business and in my life is activating extraordinary potential. It's activating extraordinary potential. So it's helping people elevate from the world of ordinary to extraordinary. Hey Angela, good to see you here. It's helping people go from just accepting the status quo to living their dream. It's helping people go from not expressing their purpose to discovering and expressing their purpose to the highest degree. So me and my whole philosophy for living is helping people explore, activate, and live that to the highest degree. Hey Angela, good to see you here. So, first of all, why bother living a life beyond extraordinary? Well, the reason why we want to live a life beyond extraordinary is, well, there's a spectrum here of standards in life. And again, I say this with love and there's no judgment, but in life, we can either strive for extraordinary, for magnificent, for let's just call it extraordinary. And below that is ordinary, right? Or call it normal, whatever you want to call it. Then further down here, we've got mediocrity, and then you've got stuff below that as well. But let's just say that there's extraordinary, there's ordinary, there's mediocrity. Now we get to decide, well, what are our standards for how much of a magnificent life do we want to live? So first of all, I got asked a question during the week, why bother living an extraordinary life? Why bother activating your extraordinary potential? Why not just activate ordinary potential? And it got me thinking, like, some people are living in that world. And I thought, let's speak about it, because some people have settled for ordinary. And when I say settled, I'm not judging anyone who's settled for ordinary. I'm just suggesting, well, there's a higher standard that's available to us. And if we're not accessing that higher standard, then we've just got to ask ourselves the honest question, well, am I avoiding something? Am I diminishing my life? Am I maybe not choosing to access something that's available to me that I could be accessing? In which case, if it was available, why am I not accessing that? And maybe what's going on within me such that I'm choosing to not access it? So hence the conversation, let's activate extraordinary potential. Let's go all in. Let's get the best out of life that we possibly can, such that one of my benchmarks for living a magnificent life is, well, if I imagine that I'm on my deathbed and I'm looking back at what I created, was I proud of what I did? Was I proud of the life that I lived? Was I satisfied with what I created? And obviously everyone's got different standards in around there, but I thought I'd set that as the precedence, which is there's a spectrum here of extraordinary, ordinary, and mediocre, and we get to assess, well, where am I on that spectrum? And again, there's no judgment. It's just, well, where do we want to be? And for those of you that are tuning in, I've got a feeling the reason why you're probably tuning in, and to Angela, tell me if you agree as well, the reason why we're tuning in is because you're wanting to tap into extraordinary rather than ordinary. So this is what I want to give you guys today, is the 5 major tools. So let's just go straight to it. The first thing we've got to do is we have to be obsessed, and I say obsessed, with learning about ourselves. We have to be obsessed with recognizing that the way that we activate our extraordinary potential is through mastering self. And I think it was Aristotle that said, the starting point of all wisdom is knowing thyself. And this is a universal truth, is our whole external experience of reality and the success that we create and the results we create in the external world, they are like the equivalent of, they are the fruit that grows on our tree. But ultimately, in order for us to grow healthy fruit, in order for us to manifest healthy fruit in our external world, we've got to take care of the roots. We've got to take care of, we need to nourish our system. We need to understand, how do we nourish the root system to produce the fruits of life that we want. So we've got to become obsessed with knowing how this machine operates, because everything that we create in life is controlled from within this machine that is a human being. So we need to become a master of understanding us. We need to put on our agenda to master knowing how we operate, what's going on in our mind, what's going on in our thinking, what's going on in our emotions, how are we doing this thing called reality. So we've got to get really, really curious to understand the human being. Now, when we understand how we operate, we can hack reality, we can hack ourselves. So yeah, thanks, Angela. We need a good understanding of how does this machine work. So when we understand how the human being operates, we're empowered to create results. So the number one point here is we have to be obsessed with personal growth. We have to be obsessed with consciousness. We've got to be obsessed with understanding what makes us tick so that we can hack this machinery so we can get better results. So that's number one. And we're either green and growing or ripe and rotting. So again, bringing it back to that spectrum of extraordinary, ordinary, or mediocre, we get to rank ourselves in terms of, well, am I ferociously learning about myself? And am I on this journey of self-discovery and expansion? Am I constantly investing in myself? And am I learning and growing and pushing myself out of my comfort zone? Or am I retreating? Am I staying in the comfort zone and am I kind of living a life half lived and not really learning about the critical things about myself that matter? So we've got to tune in and say, well, what is my priority? How serious am I treating learning about myself? Because when we learn about ourselves, when we understand how to master this machine, there is no other investment, there is no other skill, there is no other ability that is greater for creating results in our life than understanding self. Know thyself. Know thyself. That is the most important thing we can it's the most important journey, the most important mission we can ever embark on, is to know thyself. Because once we know thyself, we can hack our reality. We can create any result we want. We can create amazing relationships. We can earn more money. We can be more productive. But again, it doesn't happen magically. We need to go within and master our own internal software. We've got to update all the software. We've got to understand this program. And when we understand this program, hey, Paul, good to have you here. When we understand this program, we can then master our external reality, because our internal reality creates the external. Success is an inside job. So any shift that we're wanting to create in the external, we need to first look at, rightio, what's the internal that I need to adjust, shift, overcome? What are the parts of myself I need to transform such that the consequence, which is the result, automatically updates because of who I'm being? So this is the first and most powerful concept, is work on your mindset, work on yourself, and be obsessed with learning about ourselves. You've got to be obsessed with learning about you, because when you're obsessed with you, you understand how to hack your reality. So that's number one. Number two, second principle. Hey, Rod, good to see you here, mate. Thanks for joining in. Number two is we need to develop a belief system, a philosophy, a way of being that challenges our sense of what is even possible. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, the way I like to describe this is looking at our possibility spectrum. So imagine on this end of the spectrum, anything's possible, right? On this end of the spectrum, nothing is possible. Now, some people might call this being deluded, thinking that anything's possible. Some people might say, oh, it's unrealistic. But you go look at guys like Richard Branson and Elon Musk. Look at these guys. They're on this end of the spectrum. They're on this end of the spectrum, which is infinite possibility. We can create anything. We can do anything. Now, whether you're on this end of the spectrum or this end of the spectrum, all that really matters is you've got to look at, well, which end do I want to be on? Do I want to believe that anything's possible in my life and my reality? Or do I want to be in this end, which is nothing's possible? Nah, I'm just going to settle. What are the chances of that? That's not going to happen. Bugger that. So what we're really talking about here is optimism versus pessimism. We need to understand, well, am I optimistic about life or am I pessimistic about life? That's the possibility spectrum that I'm talking about. And I guess the truth of reality is we can pretty much create nearly anything. Anything's nearly possible. I mean, we live in a reality, we live in a universe where the universe was allegedly created through an explosion, through some sort of big bang, right? Now, either way, whatever you believe in, the fact that we're living in a universe that's been somehow created means that literally anything is possible because reality exists. So if reality somehow is existing, then there's so much more that's possible. So yes, we just need to decide, well, where am I on that spectrum? Now, if you're on this end of the spectrum, which is anything's possible, that's the highest form of empowerment, because you now believe, wow, I can actually do anything. I can do anything with my life. I can do anything. Yeah. So we're knowing that we can do anything, and this is the truth. This is actually the truth. The truth is anything is possible. That's the truth, right? Because it is possible. Now, the thing about here is if you're at this end of this possibility spectrum, then what we're indulging in is we're indulging in skepticism and negativity, and it's ultimately very, very disempowering. Now, some people might say, well, I'm just being realistic. Well, regardless of whether you're being realistic or not, if you're at one end or the other, you're going to create different results. You're going to experience different results based on where you're at in that possibility spectrum. So if you're on this end of the possibility spectrum, which is I don't believe anything's possible, then, well, I got good news for you. You're probably never even going to bother going for that goal. You're not going to bother endeavoring to have that dream relationship or that beautiful business. Hey, John, good to see you here, buddy. How are you? So we just need to ask, well, where am I on that spectrum? And what you're going to find is if you are on this end of the spectrum, which is I don't believe that much is possible for my life, or what's the chances of that, or it's very, very unlikely, all that is just a limiting belief. It's just a limitation that we've subscribed to at some point in our life. Now, we know that the truth is that anything's actually possible, right? So you can actually be on this and it's actually true because it is possible. And you're going to find that the defining factor that determines whether or not you actually can achieve that is your belief that it's possible, right? So you guys are probably familiar with the story of Roger Bannister, the guy who ran the 4-minute mile. He was the first guy to run the 4-minute mile. Now, prior to Roger Bannister running the 4-minute mile, no one believed it was possible. No one believed it was possible. They thought your heart would explode. They didn't think that the human body was designed to run a mile in under 4 minutes. Well, as soon as he did it, there's been thousands of other people that did it straight after. Now, what happened? Did gravity shift or the type of sneakers change? No, people just believed it was possible. So the power of belief, it's a thing. And it's so powerful, in fact, that the placebo effect is actually a documented medical scientific fact as well. So the thing about it is your beliefs will control your destiny. Your beliefs will control your reality. And you get to decide where do you want to be on that possibility spectrum. Now, the good news is if you're more on the negative end of the spectrum, which is kind of pessimistic, that nothing's possible, then you can actually shift it. You can move yourself more towards this end of the infinite possibility spectrum. How, you might be asking? Well, you want to consider the truth of reality. Now, the truth will set you free. The truth is we live in an abundant, infinite reality where there's so much technology, so many opportunities, there is so much that exists in this world that we've never lived in a better time in the history of humanity to create and live our dream. Like, this is the golden years of humanity, of civilization. So there has never been a better time for anyone to live their dream, right? All the major powers are at peace. Like, you could literally start the next Uber, the next Airbnb, you could literally start the next Google tomorrow with a smartphone. This is ridiculous how much opportunity we have in this life. So for anyone that says it's not possible, it's like we only have to look at the people that are starting businesses, the people that have got billions of dollars in their bank account. You just need to look at those guys and recognize, well, if they can do it, anyone can do it. And that's the fact, that's the truth. Now, the thing that gets in the way of most people recognizing that is that they have limiting beliefs about what's possible for their life. They've subscribed to negativity. They've subscribed to limiting beliefs about, well, that's not possible. So we need to remember that, well, look, if I'm on that end of the spectrum, that's just a limiting belief. I've just chosen to believe that that's not possible. And it's just happened through conditioned thought patterns that have happened so many times that it's now become the truth. So where you're on that end of the spectrum or this end of the spectrum, it's just a belief system that you've chosen to subscribe to based on the experiences you've had in your life. So that's number 2. Number 3, the third principle to live a life beyond extraordinary is we need to take responsibility. What do I mean by that? We've got to take responsibility for our life, for our results. What do I mean? Well, we've got to look at our results. So we take a look around and we say, you know what? The life that I've created this life based on me. I've created this life based on the choices I've made. Now, this is empowerment. This is empowerment at its finest. It's not blaming self. It's not saying, oh, Chris, you screwed that up, mate. It's doing is it's looking at your life and saying, rightio, I've created this. I can uncreate it. I can shift it. I can change it at any moment when I change my own internal reality. So taking responsibility, this is the ultimate attitude. This is where we recognize that we are the cause for everything that's happened in our life. Now, when we can take this extreme responsibility, we now empower ourselves with the profound ability to shift everything about our life. If we if we don't take responsibility, if we blame others, or if we say, no, it's someone else's fault, it's my parents' fault, it's the society's fault, no, I'm not intelligent enough, it's someone else's fault, then we will never be empowered to create change in our life. So we have to choose to have the attitude of, I take responsibility for every single thing that's happened to me in life, every single result, every single non-result, I create it. Now, how can we say that? Well, you can say that because no one else can enter your mind. No one else can make decisions for you. So you've been making pretty much an infinite number of choices in all the little micro moments of every single moment of your life, all the little moments of decision. You either go left, go right, go left, go right. At every single moment during the day, you're making decisions. And it's every single one of those decisions that is determining your destiny. So we can therefore conclude the truth of life is, well, I had an infinite number of opportunities to make a different decision, and I chose to go left or go right or go left or go right, and that's how I've ended up where I am now. If I had gone the other direction, I could have ended up somewhere else. So that is the truth, is that we all have been making these little micro decisions throughout our life, and we can then take responsibility for, you know what, I've created this, so I can uncreate it. And if I want to create a different reality for myself, I just need to make different decisions, and I will find the path. So again, this is an attitude, this is a philosophy that when you choose to believe this, now can you prove this? Is this a black and white scientific thing you can prove that just says that you've created your reality and that you're 100% responsible? Well, maybe you can't prove it, but that's not the point. The point is, by choosing to have this attitude, what's going to happen to your life? By choosing to have the attitude of, I'm going to take responsibility, I am empowered, you create empowerment for yourself, and it means you can do whatever you want. It means you're no longer victim to your circumstances. It means you're no longer living in a world of blame or victimhood. Hey, Angela, yeah, it's never too late. We at any moment we can go left and go right. We can take a different direction. We can course correct. We all at every single moment in our life we can have the ability to course correct and change where we're going. So we need to take responsibility to live a life true to ourselves. Now, in the book, The 5 Regrets of the Dying, which is one of the best books that I've ever read, one of my favorites, for those of you that haven't read it, do yourself a favor and go and read that book because it's so incredibly inspiring. The 5 Regrets of the Dying by Bronnie Ware. Now, number one regret from people Bronnie was working with these terminally ill patients on their deathbed, in their dying, in the last few weeks of their life. And she interviewed like dozens and dozens of patients that she worked with. And you know what she found? She found the number one regret. Type it in if you guys know what the number one regret is. The number one regret was people not living a life true to themselves. The number one regret of the dying was people not living a life true to themselves. Whoa. What sort of life would that be, to go through your life not living a life true to yourself? What does that even mean? That means living a life based on subscribing to pleasing others, based on letting fear drive you, let your ego drive you, let all the excuses and limitations of circumstances in your reality guide your destiny rather than choosing your destiny. Powerful realization. You don't want to get to your deathbed to realize that one. So I'm going to help you guys avoid making that one and just remind you that the biggest regret is people not living a life true to themselves. Yeah. So how about we start now, and about we say, like, I'm going to make a declaration to myself. I am going to 100% live a life true to myself, and I'm not going to let any pattern or limitation or limiting belief or pleasing someone else or unresourceful negative behavior drive my destiny. I'm not going to outsource my sovereignties to someone else. I'm not going to let the chance and random winds of life guide the majority of my direction in life. I'm going to choose my life, and I'm going to choose my life based on what my spirit and what my soul is guiding me to experience. So that's the third element that is so incredibly powerful, is we've got to take responsibility for living our truth, expressing our truth. Number 4, the fourth major pillar of living a life beyond extraordinary, is we're going to transform our limiting beliefs. Now, I talk about limiting beliefs a lot, and you know why? There's a reason why I talk about them a lot. Because I can tell you right now, the fastest way to create success in your life, to create the life that you want, to achieve your goals, to live a successful life, to be the expression of you, is to, first of all, become aware of the limiting beliefs and then eradicate them. So again, I'm going to just touch on what are limiting beliefs, because again, I think people need to understand this. And again, if people understood what limiting beliefs were, if this was core curriculum in schools, our civilization, our society would be so much further progressed, right? A limiting belief is just simply a belief. Well, first of all, a belief is just a convenient assumption of reality. A belief is simply a thought we've had so many times, we believe it to be fact. We believe it to be reality. So just like a fish swimming in water, most people believe that their thoughts are their reality. It's actually not the case. Our thoughts, our beliefs are just simply thoughts that we've had so many times. We've imprinted them into our neurology and we've formed a neural pathway, and now our thought becomes a belief. So that's what a belief is. So i.e. you might have had a thought so many times that you believe that you're not good enough. You might believe you're not smart. You believe you're not intelligent. Maybe you believe you are intelligent. I am smart. I am whatever. All that matters is that you've had that thought so many times you now believe it. That's all a belief is, right? It's just a conditioned thinking habit that turns into a belief that becomes your truth. So knowing this, what can we conclude from that? Well, we can conclude that what you believe to be reality, what your truth is. Hey, Cheryl, good to see you here. How are you? What we conclude is your truth is just simply the sum total of experiences of your life leading up till now. That is your truth. That is what's guiding you. That is what your perspective is of reality. Now, is that necessarily true? Well, that's a very, very good question. All I'm going to cover tonight is that truth serving you? Is that truth empowering you? So the frame I want to give you around beliefs and looking at your beliefs is, are the beliefs that you've got, are they empowering you? Are they contributing to your sovereignty? Are they helping you be the authority in your life to create the life you want? That's the first frame I want to suggest that we consider beliefs through. Because if you have a belief that's not serving you, if you have a belief like I'm not good enough, if you have a belief like I'm not smart enough, or I'm not this, or that's not possible, thanks, Shell. If we have subscribed to having a belief like that, regardless of whether or not it's true, we've got to look at, is it empowering or disempowering? And again, the placebo effect here is playing out. Whether you believe you can't or whether you believe you can, you are usually right. And I believe that was Henry Ford that said that. So again, we need to take responsibility for becoming aware of all of our limiting beliefs, because these beliefs are there. Beliefs are like an invisible handbrake. And if they're a limiting belief, it's like a handbrake. If they're an empowering belief, it's like a rocket thruster that's going to propel you forward. So whether you're aware of your beliefs or not, they're still driving you. They are like the lines of code in a software program that are creating the results that you're observing in reality. So if you're not aware of your beliefs, then all that's happened is you've just had these unconscious thoughts that have been programmed, and you've now formed your truth. Now that truth may or may not be serving you. It may or may not be serving you. You won't know until you elicit and become consciously aware of the beliefs. So hence why I'm always talking about belief hunting. I'm talking, you need to become aware of, you need to elicit, you need to have full awareness about all of your beliefs about reality. These are all the individual lines of code. These are all the individual little experiences, the micro experiences that you've experienced through life that are forming a perspective on what's real, what's true. And I've got news for you. A lot of people have got very, very disempowering truths. They believe that they will never be rich. They will never find love. They're not attractive enough. They're going to die early. They just formed these negative perspectives and these negative beliefs because of the experiences of their past. So we have been conditioned. We have been programmed by all of these little experiences. And most of these have been formulated before the age of 7 or 8. Now that's the scary part. This explains a lot of why we've got ridiculous, if you like, irrational beliefs, is because before the age of 7, we don't have a thing that in NLP and psychology we call the critical faculty. Now, the critical faculty is your ability to determine fact from fiction. So your critical faculty forms at about the age of 7, but prior to that, we're like a sponge. We're just absorbing unconscious beliefs from our environment, from our parents, from TV, from our school system, from everywhere, and we are imprinted like a cookie cutter, chonk. We get imprinted with a belief system, and that either serves us or it doesn't serve us. So we've got to go back and say, wow, what were all the belief systems that I subscribed to between the ages of 0 to 7, predominantly? What was all the stuff I chose to believe? What was the stuff I was conditioned into believing? And I've now got to question that and see if is any of that stuff still in there? If it is, we've got to rip it out. We've got to rip out those weeds of the mind. Those limiting beliefs are weeds in the garden of the mind. And if you don't pull them out, they will take your garden. So that's such an important process that I recommend and I take all of my one-on-one clients through this process of belief hunting, because I can't express how powerful this process is. Like, if you only take away one nugget of wisdom from this this whole Facebook Live. It is, I need to do belief hunting. I need to elicit what my beliefs are. And again, it's not necessarily a simple process, but I want to give you guys one of the most powerful questions to elicit a limiting belief. And the question is this. Basically, you pick a goal. Pick a goal, something that you want to... Thank you, Angela. Yeah. The goal that you want to pick is something that's important to you in your life. So pick a goal. And now, when you pick a goal, when you pick an aspiration, when you pick something you want to create in your life, the excuses will appear. The limitations will appear. So it's only when you create something that you want to achieve in life that's going to stretch you, that's when the excuses appear. That's when the unconscious limitations begin to emerge. So you want to say, right, what is that goal? Now, the question that you ask yourself is, I want to achieve blank, which is the goal, but, so you write this out, I want to achieve blank, my life's biggest goal, but, ... Now, when you say the word but, your unconscious mind is going to spew out all the unconscious limitations, the reasons why you can't do that. That's what your unconscious mind will give you. Now, you might get some truth, you might get some limitation, you might get some interesting ideas, but you're also going to get some limiting beliefs. You're going to get the limitations that have been programmed into you. So that's a powerful question. So belief hunting, powerful process. Please do that. Pick an area of life, pick a goal, and you will elicit what is holding you back unconsciously. What are those unconscious limiting beliefs? Hey, Daddy. Good to have you here, brother. How are you? Great to have you at my workshop on Saturday, mate. Then the fifth element. So this is the fifth and last pillar of what is required to activate living a life beyond extraordinary. Now this is, we need to have an attitude of ferociously discovering and mastering what are those masterful skills, what are those experiences, and what is the knowledge that we need to accumulate in life such that we can live our dreams, so that we can be extraordinary. What do we need to learn? What do we need to master? What are the skills, habits, patterns, programs, knowledge, wisdom? What are all the things we need to master in terms of our education and our skill set to take us to the next level? Because here's the thing, living your dream is not for the faint of heart, right? Creating your dream, creating the dream life, creating what you want in life is not for the faint of heart. What is required is we need to get good at life. We've got to get good at the master skills of life. Hey Angela, I'm just reading your comment here. You lost your granddad at the age of 6 years old and never got over the pain and loss of love. I'm really sorry to hear that, Angela. What you're going to find is, at the age of 6, and this happens for a lot of people, and this is quite sad, but it's also very empowering, is what happens is there'll be a negative emotional experience that gets attached to that event. And what happens is, in that event, as a very young child, as a beautiful little vulnerable child, that experience gets imprinted to what we're witnessing, what we're observing, and that memory becomes infused with a belief. So someone dying, something tragic like that, I'm very sorry to hear that, a negative emotional experience like that, which might be incredible sadness or grief or suffering, that can get infused with whatever the thinking pattern that was happening at the time, whatever was being observed. And now that infuses a belief that now gets stuck with us for life, but it's been created when that emotional experience, when that memory happened. And until we release the negative emotion around that experience, that belief will stay with us, and it will be etched in our neurology permanently. So hence, this is the way that beliefs work, and this is why going through processes like things like timeline therapy, hypnosis, practices and processes from NLP are so powerful, because in a matter of minutes, you can release that negative emotion, and it releases the memory, it releases the emotion, and it changes the decision. It changes the decision that was made in that moment. Because in that moment, as a child, when you have a very traumatic, we call it a significant emotional experience, an SEE for short, SEE, significant emotional experience, that belief system gets infused, and we end up inheriting that for our entire life. Now, this is all unconscious. This is outside of conscious awareness. And all of a sudden, one day we wake up when we're 30 or 40 years of life, 40 years old, and we're like, somehow we're still feeling that emotion, we still have that memory, and we have a belief. But it's all happened outside of conscious awareness. So we've got to go back to that moment, shift the memory, shift the emotion, and that automatically releases the belief in a very, very empowering way. And I've done this with thousands of clients now, and it's amazing how just in a matter of minutes you can shift this completely from someone's neurology. And this is a master, this is like, it just blows my mind how powerful these tools are to be able to free people from the limitations and from the frees people from the prison of their emotions. So Angela, if you haven't already spoken with a coach or spoken with someone about some coaching to release that stuff from you, it would radically transform your life. And I encourage you, do it. And it will completely shift your perspective and your reality. So please do yourself a favor and really inquire. And I'm happy to give you some suggestions, and please send me a message. Happy to help you with that. So the fifth element was really starting to learn the skills, the knowledge, and the experience that were required for us to live extraordinary. Because if we wanted to live an extraordinary life, well, we need to develop extraordinary skills. If we want to develop an extraordinary life, we need to develop extraordinary knowledge. We need to surround ourselves with an extraordinary support network. We need to surround ourselves give ourselves extraordinary experiences. So we need to stretch ourselves. We need to push ourselves. We need to set the bar really, really high and really start to assess, how am I doing in life? And actually start to critically evaluate, you know what, how am I doing? How am I doing in the space of relationships? How am I doing in the space of working hard? How am I doing in the space of backing myself? How am I doing in the space of loving myself? We've got to now critically evaluate every single line item of self and say, how am I doing? And I want to give you guys a really powerful process to go through to evaluate self. What you do is you create a table. Now, I love Excel. I'm a bit of an Excel junkie. What you do is you create an Excel table. It doesn't have to be an Excel table. It could just be a Word document or a piece of paper. But either way, on one side of I'm going to do it for you guys in reverse. On one side, you're going to have all the characteristics and attributes of self. All the characteristics and attributes. And what you're now doing is you're writing things like, okay, maybe health, maybe work ethic, attitude, energy, compassion, forgiveness, excitement, joy, tenacity, all the characteristics that you want to evaluate yourself against. Maybe it's business, right? Maybe it's follow through. It could be efficiency, time management, organization, whatever. All those elements of a human being, if you're going to rank yourself and assess yourself, almost like taking a blood test, but a blood test of all the characteristics of your personality and your beingness, you want to list out all those categories that are important for living an extraordinary life. Maybe it's being socially outward. Maybe it's being generous. All those things, whatever's important to you. And you list them all. Now what you do is you now have a numbering system. You have the numbers of 0 all the way through to 10. Now what you want to do now is you want to rank yourself. You want to have an honest ranking of self based on all of those categories. And you want to rank yourself from 0 to 10. 0 being terrible or mediocre and 10 being extraordinary. Now that's the ranking system that you want to use. And then you evaluate yourself on every single element, every single characteristic, every single attribute. And you have a 0 to 10 ranking. Now once you've done that for every single line item of all the characteristics of self, you've now got something to benchmark yourself against. You can actually look at it and go, you know what? Maybe in courage, I'm only giving myself a 3 out of 10. Maybe I'm not pushing myself out of my comfort zone. Now, if you get less than, say, a 6 or a 7, you really want to inquire and say, look, I've got some work to do, right? What am I going to do? I need to put this on my agenda. I've got to add this to my hit list. I'm going to put this on my agenda to focus some time and energy and maybe even money investing in developing that part of myself to move me ahead. Now, there might be some of those elements where you might, who knows, maybe you might give your health, maybe a 2. And then you look at that and go, you know what? Geez, if my health is only a 2, what's the consequence of that? And and again, you're utilizing everything within your disposal to create motivation, but also create awareness of what needs to change. So this is a matrix that you can use to assess and evaluate your entire life. And you can now look at each of those attributes and say, you know what? If I want to develop that, how am I going to develop it? Maybe what book, what course, what mentor, what coach do I need? Maybe what do I need? Maybe I'm not going to put myself out of my comfort zone. What do I need to physically do, be, or have in order to elevate that element, in order to increase that element towards a 10 out of 10? And this is the way that you critique yourself. This is the way you fully evaluate every part of yourself. It might even be you evaluate your intimacy, your sexual performance, might be your diet, your nutrition, maybe your ability to dance, whatever is important to you, right? Actually, that's a good one. I might add my ability to dance. I think for me, I'm getting up towards about an 8 or a 9 with dancing. But whatever the elements that are important to you, you put it in this schedule, you put it in this matrix, and you evaluate yourself. Now, if you do this consistently, if you do this, say, probably once every fortnight, once every month, you can't hide from it. You cannot hide because you're acknowledging, where am I at? And again, this comes back to the third element, which I've just mentioned before, which is taking responsibility. is we've got to take responsibility for our results and our non-results. And there's no hiding. If you want to live a life beyond extraordinary, you cannot hide behind, I'm busy, I don't have time, da 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 da. It's not an excuse. We have to make the time. We have to make the sacrifices. We have to put aside the time. We have to say, I'm going to declare that my life is so important. I'm going to work on myself. And because in life, we have to take the oxygen mask first before we give it to others. We have to take the oxygen mask first before we give it to others, because we cannot give what we don't have. We cannot give what we do not have. And I'm a firm believer, once we take care of ourselves, we have so much more to give. We have so much more energy. We have so much more contribution to give when we invest in this, and we can give so much more. So this isn't about being selfish. This is about actually being more generous, because we now have more of ourselves to give. So, guys, I'm going to finish it up there because I know we're just past the half-hour mark. I trust you guys have gotten value. Thanks so much for your comment, Angela. Pain, it's okay. Yeah, thank you for your comments, Angela. And as I said, it's definitely worth reaching out. Reach out to me or reach out to a coach. Go through those processes. You can release, as I said, limiting beliefs, they can be released in a matter of minutes. They can be released in a matter of minutes. Negative emotions, they can be released in a matter of minutes using these processes. We don't have to live as a prisoner to our emotions. We just don't have to do it. Anyone with anxiety, depression, anger, hurt, guilt, any of these negative emotions, any people with limiting beliefs, we have all the tools, we have all the processes in the world of personal development and coaching to release these. People don't have to live with them, right? And unfortunately, I might sound like a broken record, but we have all the tools. We've had all the tools for a long, long time. Unfortunately, people just either they don't know about it, or they don't believe it, or they just aren't willing to back themselves. So anyway, I trust you guys have got value from today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please, if you guys have got questions, let me know. If you've got other questions, things you want to know, areas you want me to focus on, always keen to add as much value as I can to you guys. So thanks for tuning in to Transformation Tuesday, guys. As always, lots of love. I wish you guys a fantastic week. Thanks again, everyone, for tuning in, and look forward to speaking again soon. Hope you're having a good week, and I will chat to you soon. See you guys. See you, Shell. See you, Ange. See you guys soon. Bye for now.